Once again, Cael Sanderson has this Penn State wrestling team peaking at the right time.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That is right. You are locked on to Penn State Wrestling. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch every single day. My name is Zach Seyko, and I am your host of the show, credentialed media member for both Penn State Wrestling and Penn State Football. Help me welcome him back, the voice of Penn State Wrestling, the expert himself. Jeff Byers has returned as we are going to talk about senior night against Princeton, how Penn State is only losing one starter out of this senior group, 9 returners for next year. Levi Haynes, we're going to talk about him in the final segment specifically. Give our final thoughts, takeaways on Penn State versus Ohio State, the key matchups that went down to the wire and all favored Penn State. And it shows once again that Penn State wrestling is peaking at the right time. Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birth cake flavor is back with no fork needed. So that vanilla cake flavor, caffeinated kick, and no sugar, it's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Friendly reminder to let us know your thoughts down in the comment section to be a part of the conversation. But Jeff, it's not just about Ohio State missing a few starters and Penn State really blowing the dual meet way and away from the Buckeyes. But every single match that went down to the wire ended up going in Penn State's favor, proving once again, oh yeah, they're firing on all cylinders when it matters most.
Yeah, and I think, it's something we've seen pretty consistently over Cael Sanderson's tenure here, and certainly in the last few years, as these guys do rise to the occasion much more often than not in those big matches. And I think, it's a testament to what they're doing in the room, because when you're not as tested during the course of the season, sometimes you get in a tight match when you're used to winning by major decision or technical fall. You can get a little tight. Well, not the case with these guys, in part because every day in that room, they're facing that top competition, and they're in those situations on a regular basis. And I also think there's just a mindset where they genuinely love those opportunities to go prove themselves against other elite competition.
And I talked about a lot in the follow-up podcasts that, hey, Penn State, okay, they win 36-5 the way that they do. Ohio State's missing starters. But part of that goes back to the original, and so I'm not going to make it totally about the national duels and everything that Tom Ryan said. I already said my piece. You can go check out those shows if you want to, but it offers perspective how Ohio State has to be decisive with, hey, do we really want to wrestle this guy because he's dealing with an injury, and we got Big Tens coming up, we got NCAAs, and Penn State has 100% of its lineup together. And I know injuries are circumstantial, but it's about the process that Cael Sanderson has now down to a science, down to a formula that Penn State sticks to year after year after year. And not only are they peaking at this time of year in the wrestling season, it's they're also getting better on top of that year in and year out. So it's not the same end result. It's always the group collectively is that few percentage points better from the season before. So yeah, they're at the top of their game, but it's also that collectively the team's a better version and at the top of their game each season.
Yeah, and I think, I'm really excited to see this postseason because of the opportunities that are there for Penn State, but also for other teams. I mean, we've talked about it for a while now. 133, I just think is at the top end, so loaded, and so many talented freshmen in particular that are going to be battling it out. I think it's just going to be fun. And, from Penn State's perspective, you certainly feel confident about Marcus Blaze's chances going into it. I think kind of same thing with PJ Duke at 157. But I think you just go up and down the lineup, even where Penn State would be considered a pretty heavy favorite. There are guys out there that are really good wrestlers, have really good coaches, and they are just waiting for their opportunity to be the guy that knocks off the Penn State wrestler. So, I think Penn State loves having that type of a challenge, loves those opportunities. And yeah, I think, Cael Sanderson has repeatedly said the goal is always to get better, for each individual to get a little better each day, certainly year after year. And it's the same with the program. Now, at some point, I think that has to stop. I don't know that it's stopping anytime soon, but somewhere along the way, Penn State is going to take at least a half step back in terms of the point scoring and the domination over the opposition. But what they are doing right now in this current 3-year run, going back 2 years and then last year and so far this season, again, we've just not seen anything like this in college wrestling. I can't really think of anything we've seen like this in college athletics, where a team is setting records 3 straight years. And not to get ahead of ourselves, but as you mentioned, Levi Haynes, the only senior starter, and you have guys like Masa Ono and Tyler Kasak and Will Henkel waiting in the wings. I mean, the chance is there for Penn State to again take a step forward as a program and be even better next year. And again, we got to wait and see how the postseason plays out this year. I mean, this run is just truly unprecedented.
And you mentioned the level of competition at NCAAs that I think collectively is better, but Penn State is still getting better too, as we see time and time again. This 36-5 result, it's not indicative of what Ohio State's going to be in the postseason, because they will get their starters back. Nick Bazakis, I imagine, is going to get healthier, and he dealt with an injury from the Iowa dual meet and still went out and wrestled against Luke Lilledahl. Okay, we saw Ben DeVino go down to the wire with Marcus Blaze. We know what Jesse Mendez is, right? The expectation, you get Ethan Styles back. Okay, Nick Feldman is going to rejuvenate as well and be, as tough as ever if Cole Mirasola happens to meet him again. This is just one meeting between the two. But Ohio State, certainly, you just kind of see the contrast there with, I expect all the Buckeyes to be back in full force in the postseason, and Penn State getting to 85 dual meet victories in a row, another dual meet regular season dual meet title. Jeff, I'm just disappointed at the end of the day, because it was 1 versus 2 on paper, and it never ended up being that. So I guess, again, circumstantially it stinks, but I want people to know that don't expect Ohio State just to roll over and then that's it. They're gonna be back and ready to go come March.
They are, although I will tell you, Zach, I think they're going to have a challenge on their hands with Nebraska for that runner-up spot at both Big Tens, and then NCAAs. Obviously, you can throw in some other teams like Oklahoma State and Iowa State that'll be in that mix as well. So, I think Ohio State, will have a very formidable team. I also think that the Big Ten tends to separate things a little more, and even the dominant teams have a tough time being as dominant. And listen, every season's a new season. Every opportunity is a new chance to see, who can prove themselves. That being said, the track record here for the Penn State program, generally speaking, and there are certainly plenty of exceptions, but generally speaking, when you get those rematches in the postseason, in the matches where Penn State won during the regular season, they tend to widen the gap between their opponent, and in matches they lost close. Again, the track record is pretty good that they find a way to win those rematches in the postseason. And again, it doesn't guarantee anything. I'm not sitting here telling you it's impossible that Ohio State could reverse some of those results in Friday's duel, but the track record is what it is from the Penn State perspective. And I think all of the guys that won those were confidence boosters. I think these are guys that aren't, going to get caught up in, all right, well, that's the end of the season. I proved myself. They all know that the bigger opportunities are ahead. And I think they're genuinely looking forward to those opportunities and to meeting those guys again. And I think Ohio State's probably in the same boat. I would think, again, any competitor, you want that opportunity to face other elite competition and go prove yourself. But I think Penn State rightfully should be feeling very, very good about itself going into the postseason.
And that's about a part of the process. Okay, that personifies the process that we've talked about here, and how Penn State gets to its top level at the right time every single year. We have more thoughts about Penn State, Ohio State, particularly these matchups. Luke Lilledahl against Nick Bazakis, Marcus Blaze against Ben DeVino, Cole Mirasola against Nick Feldman, right? Mirasola is in that mix with the other elite heavyweights. We're going to talk about all that and senior night with Levi Haynes and others coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. It was a heavyweight showdown between number 3 South Carolina and number 7 LSU, and the Gamecocks rose to the occasion. South Carolina secured a hard-fought 79-72 victory to stay atop the SEC standings, using a balanced offensive attack to outlast the Tigers. Tessa Johnson led the way with 21 points, while Raven Johnson added 19. Medina Okot dominated the paint with a double-double, finishing with 12 points and 17 rebounds, while Joyce Edwards chipped in 10 points to round out the scoring. With the statement win, the Gamecocks now turn their attention to a road matchup at number 23 Alabama on Thursday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Now, here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. We're talking flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can actually make a deep run here, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Futures this time of year, they're great. Whether you're picking a team to win a conference title or the championship itself, it adds the extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the NBA Finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Did you know you can get Locked On Nittany Lions ad-free? That's right. If you're a member of the Everydayer Club, you will also get access to a members-only Discord server to talk about all things Penn State. Visit LockedOnNittanyLions.supercast.com or check the link down in the show notes to learn more. Even though we didn't get a true number 1 versus number 2 dual meet, I mean, Jeff, we might have saw the preview of the Big Ten championship, well, depending on seeding, right? But NCAA matchups that I fully believe will go down again, definitely Big Tens between Marcus Blaze and Ben DeVino and Luke Lilledahl and Nick Bazakis. So there's your 1 versus 2 matchup, which Lilledahl, just, again, the endurance, the way that every close match went in Penn State's favor, but also once again shows, okay, particularly with Lilledahl, he wins those matches, and he won those kinds of matches last season, but to see him take it in sudden victory, the defense to be able to fend off an aggressive Nick Bazakis, that's the thing that I noticed, that Ben DeVino and Nick Bazakis were not afraid to go after either of Lilledahl and Blaze respectively, and it's the defense by both Lilledahl and Blaze that were the difference in those matchups.
Yeah, both are elite. And again, at this level, if you're going to be a national champion, you need to have both. You need to be really good at creating offense, but you've also got to be a guy that can fend off strong attacks against you, and where you can create counter opportunities. And I think both Lilledahl and Blaze certainly fall into that category. I think Lilledahl just stays composed under all situations, and I think he's just having a lot of fun right now competing. I think he just enjoys that process of getting ready for a match and then getting the opportunity to go out and test yourself against some of the other best wrestlers in the country. And Marcus Blaze is just a guy, I mean, to me, he's the ultimate gamer. I just think that's a guy, the more the pressure's on, the more his back is against the wall, the more Penn State fans ought to be comfortable that he's going to find a way to come out on top. And again, I know that freshman class and 133 as a whole is just really special. But Marcus is just a remarkable young man, not just a great wrestler. He's just a remarkable person and just has a great perspective, and again, an ability to kind of will himself to do whatever is needed to find a way to win. He's just kind of the ultimate competitor. He kind of puts me in the mind of a Jason Nolf in terms of, hey, if I need to do X, I will find a way to do it.
Take us back to that. Take us back to that moment with Marcus Blaze, where he gets the reversal, right? That's Ben Davino, escaped in 9 seconds, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, for Blaze, you already knew the clock was against you. And so for him to go and win by reversal, Jeff, I want your perspective on, that's one of the loudest times in that dual meet as it was, right? Because Rocco Welsh, Cole Mirasola, where does Blaze maybe rank in those moments of the BJC duels with how loud it was? That place practically erupted when Blaze got the reversal. The scramble went his way, and then Davino trying to get away, and you're on the edge of your seat because he almost gives up the escape, but Blaze is able to hold on, and then it's a tie bout from there. And I'm pretty sure Davino wins if he gets that escape because he's still got the earlier escape in the first tiebreaker too. So a lot's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it would have depended exactly when he got the escape and what the riding time situation was. But yeah, for Blaze, I mean, the reversal obviously was sensational, but what was really, to me, spectacular about that was being able to hang on to the legs and then to move up off of the legs and break Davino down and get him bellied out there at the end of the bout. I mean, that is really special stuff by Marcus Blaze. And again, he is just one of those kids. He just finds a way. He stays composed, doesn't seem to get fazed by anything happening around him. And again, I think just loves those pressure-filled opportunities. And I think that's how he looks at it is, man, this is a really cool opportunity. And, I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's never going to lose a bout again. There's a lot of really good kids, elite kids there at that weight. But it is going to take something special to beat Marcus Blaze. And when Marcus puts his mind to it, it's just, it is something to behold. He just is a really special kid when it comes to that competitive fire and that competitive edge.
Rocco Welsh and Cole Mirasola were also the highly contentious matchups in this one. Where Rocco, hey, Dylan Fishback, All-America contender. Hey, if he catches lightning in a bottle, maybe he finds himself in a semifinals matchup. Again, depending on where he is in the bracket. I don't want to overlook the caliber wrestler that Fishback was. And like Davino, like Bazakis, he was willing to be the aggressor in that matchup. So a little uncharacteristic for Rocco Welsh, but again, that's a top 10 all-American caliber wrestler there against Fishback. But again, the difference is, hey, Welsh, despite the odds were certainly not in his favor. You have riding time against you. You're going to need not one score. You're going to need multiple scores here against an elite wrestler like Fishback. And for Welsh to come back from that. That's the telling part of it. So yeah, Fishback is a tough opponent, but it's the fact that you made that comeback against a tough opponent right there.
Yeah, and I think a coaching staff that obviously knows you very well and has you extremely well scouted. And I thought Rocco just did a great job again, staying composed, not hitting the panic button, understanding, yep, I need a couple of scores, and I have consistently been able to get a takedown when I get in on an opponent's leg. So let's just go to work. There's no need to rush anything, no need to go crazy. Just, yep, let's go get a takedown and then get another one. And I think he stayed very much within himself, very much understanding the situation and not making it more than it was. And then I think, again, just working. And I think, getting Fishback a little fatigued, a little disoriented there at in the last 30 seconds, and then having the wherewithal, hey, I'm going to keep pressuring, and then boom, come back to the other side as Fishback keeps feeling that pressure and defends it on the one side. And that's just, a combination of, again, being composed, but also understanding wrestling, understanding how to set up a shot and then take advantage of the opportunity when it's there. And, again, Rocco Welsh is a very special young man, a very special wrestler. And I think just, again, across the board with these guys, when they need to dig deep, that they're able to do that. And I think to a large degree, they kind of thrive in those opportunities.
Yeah, and in March, it doesn't matter how you win. It's just the fact that you do win. That advances you to the next round. That wins you a title. So whether it's 7-6 or it's 13-5, it's just about getting to the next round. Of course, bonus points are going to factor in, but I think if you're Penn State, you're just looking for a decision there and just moving on, even if it's not the prettiest, right? So Rocco Welsh finding a way to win even when everything is stacked against you. Cole Mirasola, a little more of Jeff, maybe you can add some context to the takedown, no takedown there, because maybe Mirasola shouldn't have even gone to sudden victory with Feldman like that. But again, the conditioning. Feldman, I view as a finals contender. I don't know that he wins because Younger Bastida is there, but Feldman is certainly one of those wrestlers that can absolutely get there. Again, lightning in a bottle type of situation too, because it is a crowded heavyweight weight class, but Cole is not far and away outside of that group. That is a statement for the people that don't see Mirasola as someone that can end up on the podium and should be expected to. I expect Mirasola to be on the podium at least. Is it going to be tough to get there? Absolutely. But this is evidence that, well, if he can take down somebody that's a finals contender, you should not dismiss Cole as just an outsider. Well, better luck next year, youngster.
Well, what I like is I don't think Mirasola looks at himself as somebody that's going to be on the podium. I think he looks at himself as somebody that's going to be on top of the podium.
He said it. Yeah, he said that.
And I think, listen, that's I'm never going to fault anybody for having high aspirations, the highest of aspirations. The worst that can happen is you fall short. I think I talk about this every year around this time. That there has never been a national champion who didn't envision himself being a national champion. Now, not everybody that has that vision obviously ends up on top of the podium, but everybody that ends up on top of the podium has that as the goal. You don't get there without that being your objective and your belief in what you can do. So, I think for Mirasola, that was a huge win from a confidence standpoint. I think I may have talked with you about it last week, Zach. It's one thing to be close, and Mirasola was there against Gadali. He's been there. He obviously got a win against Keeter, which was a big win earlier in the year. But I think getting a win, not keeping it close, and then the added factor to me that I think should give Mirasola the confidence that he can go win a national title is, it wasn't a match where, oh man, he got a call and that went his way. Exactly the opposite. He got a call that went against him, and instead of bemoaning it and, oh man, it's just not my night, so all right, well, here we go. I'll go get another one. And I think, that the just did a really good job of staying steady with that takedown. Feldman's trying to, throw him up over, and he's just able to steady himself with his hips and follow through. And I think it's one of those things where they have really worked with Mirasola in the room, obviously on finishing takedowns and on the setups. So again, they know his size. They also know his strength. And so, all right, let's play to that and figure out the best way to create those opportunities. And I think you saw against Feldman. I think Mirasola was kicking himself after the Gadali match the previous week, because that was one that, from his perspective, he should have had, not could have, should have had. And so now I think with that win over Feldman, now you have that in your hip pocket as an experience that you can draw from. And yeah, I think Cole Mirasola is right there with everybody else in the heavyweight division. There's not a lot of separation between those top guys, but if he keeps himself in position, creates an opportunity, gets a score, that's the recipe. And again, I think he is capable of doing that against anybody, all of the heavyweights. And now I think he has, maybe a little added confidence that, yep, that is something he can go out and do.
Senior night is here. Can't believe we're already at the end of the regular season. Penn State is going to finish up with Princeton in Rec Hall Friday night. They say goodbye to 3 seniors, one of which is in the starting lineup, which means that Penn State wrestling is going to have 9 returners going into next year. We're going to talk about it coming up next on Locked On Nittany Lions. This episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season does not have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off, move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect with them online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms, and they'll work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It is a huge time saver, and it's going to give you real peace of mind knowing, hey, an expert is handling all of it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150. That's right, $150 all in if a TurboTax expert did not file for you last year. All you got to do is file by February 28th. Take taxes off of your plate. Get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. That is TurboTax.com/local. And this episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which ones just might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take the top spot. 5 Hour Energy has a wide variety of flavors, something for everyone. 5 Hour Energy shots give you a boost with 0 sugar. 5 Hour Energy has a lot of upcoming flavor innovations planned. Now I'm going to draft my favorite flavor. I'm going to go with Hawaiian Breeze. You get to feel the breeze and taste the caffeine. It's made with passion fruit, orange, and guava flavors. It's sweet yet smooth, tangy yet tart. So it's that kind of versatility that you're looking for in a top draft pick. Some other flavors that you yourself might select number 1 overall: cotton candy, confetti craze, fruity rainbow, cherry, grape, berry. The options are endless. You can find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. That's the number 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Penn State is set to say farewell to 3 seniors here: Sam Beckett, Lucas Cochran, and Levi Haynes. And we'll talk about the starting lineup in just a moment, Jeff, and the implications that it has with just Haynes moving on from that group with 9 out of 10 starters returning next season. But Beckett, Cochran, and Haynes, all in their own right, have contributed so much to the Penn State wrestling program over the years.
Yeah, no question. I've been great workout partners. Lucas has had some great moments as a starter, has kind of done whatever the program has asked. He's just a really sharp kid. I think is either getting or might now have his pilot's license, and just has a wonderful perspective on things, and I think has thoroughly enjoyed being part of this program, and has been a leader. Beckett is a guy that just, again, day in and day out, puts his time in, does whatever's asked of him. And again, I think same thing, comes away with a great perspective and a lot of great memories. And obviously Levi Haynes is going to go down as one of the really special wrestlers and people to come through the program. I just think one of the rare guys in this day and age to come in and go through 4 years in 4 years, never redshirt, come in and get to the NCAA finals as a freshman, wins it his sophomore year, bounces back after a disappointing loss to take third last season, and obviously Penn State hoping that he can close it out and win a national title again in his final NCAA tournament appearance. But he married Madeline Gano back in the fall. I think we've seen him grow as a person and as a wrestler, and I think he's just one of those guys. I can't imagine anybody ever running into Levi Haynes and not coming away with a smile on their face and thinking that they've just met a really great person. And he just is exactly what you want as a representative of the program, both in terms of obviously an outstanding wrestler, but the way he competes, and then the way he conducts himself, the time he spends with young people, and the time he takes signing autographs and giving encouraging words to young people. And and same thing with older people. Again, I've been at a bunch of events with him, and he is just one of those guys that, you need a little help over here, I'll give it. You need me to be part of a fishing trip giveaway? Yep, let me know where I need to be, and who I need to get in contact with. I mean, he just is a guy that we talk about the team mentality, and I do think it's throughout the program a pervasive mentality. I'm not sure there's anybody that better exemplifies it than Levi Haynes.
To Levi Haynes and to Lucas Cochran and Sam Beckett as well. I think of, because I like to kind of describe, the senior group collectively. And I think about the sacrifices that they made, and I know it's just a few of them. It's not this extensive senior group, but they all kind of share that same common value of the sacrifices, the adjustments that they made. Again, Levi Haynes going from 57 to 74 to benefit the lineup. Of course, it worked out for him on the freestyle and the folk style circuit, but it was something that had to be done for his sake, for the team's sake. Lucas Cochran between 197 and heavyweight, again, Sam Beckett as well. So that's what I think of between these three, is just how willing they were to sacrifice, and they end up benefiting in the process from those sacrifices.
Yeah, and again, they all just have that positive attitude. They're fun to be around. They're easy to be around, easy to talk to, very approachable people. And I think, from Levi in particular, I just think, regardless of what happens in this postseason, the memories that he has created for people, certainly for fans, but I think for teammates, I think for coaches, it's special. There's not a lot of guys that you think back on and it's like, man, I had the privilege to cover that guy, or and watch him compete. And I just think Levi is one of those guys. It just was fun to watch him to compete. But I think even more fun just to get to know him, to talk to him, to hear his thoughts. Obviously a big outdoorsman, and fun to hear him tell stories on hunting and fishing, and all of those things. And I just the legacy he leaves behind is really, really special.
It's definitely one of a kind. So Penn State will say farewell to those seniors. Want to talk, just briefly here, because we'll have plenty more conversations about the future of this Penn State lineup, but they're only going to be losing one starter at the end of the day. Everybody else comes back. We'll debate, who goes in at 74, right? Does Mitchell go up? Do you have William Hankel go in? You have Masanosuke Ono. You have Tyler Kasak that will factor into the fold in some capacity, right? There's 9 lineup spots. You think about the 9 returning starters, and then you have these other elite wrestlers that are sitting and waiting their turn patiently. So it gets very chaotic at the end of the day. And Penn State actually has flexibility with what it can do next season. So if you're thinking, oh, well, if Penn State's overcrowded, well, then somebody's got to leave, right? No, someone will step back and someone will go into the lineup, kind of like this year, for example. PJ Duke goes into the lineup. Tyler Kasak takes a year off. Well, PJ Duke could redshirt. Mitchell Messenbrink could go up, right? Marcus Blaze has a red shirt on the table. Braden Davis still has his red shirt to use. This is what Ono did. He went through his red shirt season this year. So Penn State Cale Sanderson's been really good with juggling eligibility and lineup cards and everything else to find ways to somehow still balance the room out and not have a mass type of exodus at the end of every season, because there's just too many competitors and not enough spots to go around.
Well, and again, I think part of it is these guys understand that what they have here is an opportunity to be part of an historically great program, but also if you are looking to truly become the best wrestler you can be, I'm not saying there's obviously a lot of great coaches out there. I'm not saying you can't go become elite elsewhere. Obviously, there are a ton of guys who have done that. But to become the very best, it's hard to argue that there's a better place than Penn State right now and this coaching staff with what, Cale Sanderson and Casey Cunningham and Cody Sanderson and Nick Lee. And then you throw in, Jake Varner and Zane Rutherford and all of the guys with the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. Again, if your goal is to truly become the best you can be, I think Penn State has a really compelling argument to make that this is the place where you can do that better than anywhere else. And so, I think these guys see it, believe it, want to be a part of it. And ultimately, if your goal is to be a national champion or to be a world champion, an Olympic champion, well, you got to beat everybody else anyway, right? And so whether they're teammates or competing for another school, in order to get those spots, those are the guys you got to beat. So why not stay familiar with them? Why not see what they're up to? I mean, I think that's also, factors in anyway to part of the thinking. And yeah, it is crazy when you look at this, again, possibly we'll see what the postseason brings, but possibly a team that will go down as the greatest in the history of college wrestling, and you lose one senior, and you have, as you said, Ono and Kasak back in the fold, a Will Hankel who's just chomping at the bit here to get his opportunity, and I think will be primed to make a tremendous impression right out of the gate as a redshirt freshman next year. And then, even as you look a couple of years down the road, and Cale and the staff are always looking 4 or 5 years down the road while being very present and focused on the moment, they're also big picture looking 4 or 5 years down the road. Well, you lose Levi Haynes this year, and maybe there's some fans of other teams out there. All right, well, the next year, man, that's when we've got to get our break. Nope, Shane Van Ness and Mitchell Messenbrink, and that's it. Those will be the only two that'll leave the program because of eligibility after next year. So again, and you start looking through the guys that Penn State is stockpiling at the various weight classes. And again, this thing just does not show any signs of slowing down any time for the foreseeable future. And it's just, we've not seen anything like it. I mean, that's just the easiest way to put it.
In the near future, Penn State versus Princeton. Princeton 4-10 this season in dual meets. They're off of a recent match against Rutgers where they ended up losing 28-9. Penn State will host them in Rec Hall, 7 p.m. start time, and they will say goodbye to the seniors as a part of senior night. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. Jeff will be on the call for that matchup. If you want to listen to it, stream it on gopsusports.com. Thank you so much for joining us here on this episode of Locked On Nittany Lions. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Be a part of the discussion. If you're new to the show, subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a like, share the show with friends and family. It's great to always have you here. Jeff, it is great to always have you here. Thank you so much for the time, the perspective, the insight to this Penn State wrestling team each and every time we get to chat, and can't wait to do it again very soon.
Thanks, Zach.